Hey everybody, Ryan McCaffrey with IGN, joined by the head of Turtle Rock, the hardest rock of the Turtle Rocks.
One of them, anyway.
Phil Robb, good to see you.
Good to see you.
We're covering Evolve all month long as part of ign-first right here on IGN, revealing all sorts of fun stuff about the game. Appreciate you coming up from the studio right in the middle of crunch time.
Well, you know.
To take some community questions. We reached out to the IGN community who's been watching and reading all of this coverage all month long on the game, and they've got some questions for you. I would just go straight to the source.
Do it.
This is the highest of the highest of well-placed sources right here. David Terracino asks via Twitter, 4v1 gameplay aside, what makes Evolve different from every other FPS out there in what I agree is in a pretty saturated market?
Well, let's see. One, you know, we've got a wide cast of characters, you know, a pretty big cast of characters, each one very unique, each one with their own abilities, right? And the way you mix them, you know, in your team certainly changes the way a match can go, right? And you can try all these different combos. So there's a bit of synergy and a bit of a metagame there, you know, for you to play even before you get into the match. Two, you know, it's a big boss battle, right? I mean, most first-person shooters are usually about, you know, hey, let's get in and we'll all shoot the same way. Yeah. Right. In this one, you know, you're working together and you're fighting the boss monster, and of course, the boss monster is playable by a human, right? I think that's a big one. No, you don't have to play it against a human if you don't want to, but that's a big one.
That's a big one. Major Tom, who I trust is a fan of 70s music, writes in on Twitter and says, what other modes can we expect? Because all we've really seen is hunt mode so far.
All right, so we've got nest mode, which is basically, this is one where the hunters are sort of going in to an infested area, and they basically have to track down a bunch of these, the monster eggs and destroy them. Right. Now, of course, the monster isn't going to let you just walk in and destroy all of his eggs. And the interesting thing is that the monster can actually hatch the eggs. So, you know, at the cost of an egg, right? The thing is, once the hunters destroy a certain number of eggs, they win. Right. The monster can choose to destroy one of those eggs himself and get a buddy. And so really, it's just sort of a race to see, whether or not the hunters can destroy all the eggs, or the monster gets them before they're able to do that.
Cool. We'll talk more about Nest here next week.
And we've got a couple more that we'll be talking about.
Excellent. So. Bryce Boyd on Twitter wonders, how often are you planning on introducing new hunters and monsters into the game?
That kind of depends. I mean, we don't. It actually takes kind of a long time to build those things.
Understandable.
So we're gonna, we'll get them certainly as much. I mean, if people want them, we're gonna do our best to give them to them. Now we don't have a set schedule yet, but we're gonna try to come out with them to meet demand.
I'm gonna humbly request right now, just call the lawyers, get the Predator license. I think Sega has it right now. We need the Predator as a monster with Arnold and Jesse Ventura and the other two guys as the hunters. Yeah. That's probably going to sell 6 billion copies. Because we need a good Predator game.
I don't know. And
I think you've already built the game for that game. Just putting in the request on behalf of fans everywhere.
Request noted.
Via Facebook, Adam Nasler writes in, what does the post-launch support of Evolve look like? Sort of a little similar to the last question.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, it looks, it's.
Are we talking maps? Are we talking monsters, hunters?
Yeah. That's going to be the sort of big ones. We're looking at maps, monsters, and hunters. One of the things that we've been real sort of careful to stress is that our DLC plans, we sort of approached it as consumers. What would Chris and I feel good about as consumers? Well, first thing we said was we can't break the community up, right? So all of our maps will be free.
Nice.
We never want anyone to get booted off of a server because they haven't bought something. That sucks. And then the other thing is that we'll have characters and monsters, and even if you don't buy them, you'll be able to play against them.
Interesting.
Right. So yeah, if your buddy wants to buy the DLC, that's cool, and your game will be enhanced through his purchase, right? And so you won't be able to play as those characters, but you'll certainly be able to play with.
See, you're a smart man, because then that's what better way to sell the DLC than to Just put it right, dangle it right in front of you. Here it is. You're playing against it. Why don't you buy it so you can play too?
Yeah, I mean, if that works, that's cool. That wasn't really our thinking.
You're an evil genius.
No, that wasn't our thinking. We were just thinking, we don't want people to feel like they have to buy anything in order to enjoy the game. The other thing to note is that if you pre-order the game, the first monster DLC is for free. So all you gotta do is pre-order a game that maybe you're gonna buy anyways, and you get 4 monsters.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
first
take note.
Yeah, when that first DLC monster comes out, you'll just
just do me a favor. If I pre-order, we got to ship a functioning game on day one. The industry's been having some trouble with that lately. So this is a promise that we need to enter into. If I pre-order,
we're gonna do our best, man. It's making games is not like baking a cake.
No,
it's pretty complicated and. You see some really big companies, that sort of stumble on launch day. But that's why we have alphas and betas, right? That we can work as many of those bugs out as possible so that, day one is an awesome experience.
Juan Mirlis on Facebook asks, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Juan, I apologize if I'm not, how many ideas were tossed around for environmental hazards like the man-eating plants?
Quite a few, actually. A lot of them... You can overdo it, with the environmental hazards. The problem is, I feel like we've struck a really good balance with having enough in there to keep you on your toes, but not so many that it just gets irritating.
What's your favorite of the native wildlife?
The native, my favorite. I would say, I really like the crowbill sloth.
What does he do?
He's just kind of this big mellow dude, right? That if you don't mess with him, he won't mess with you. But if you do mess with him, he'll kick your ass, right? I don't know. There's just something about his personality. If you sit and kind of watch him do his thing, he's kind of a big, lovable guy, and he's my favorite.
I will wait for the plush for you guys to make the plushie version and sell it in the Evolve store. Tim Crum on Facebook wants to know, since this game is a first of its kind, what's the inspiration? What first gave you the idea for? You mentioned on last week's video that it sort of predated Left 4 Dead. So what first gave you the idea for Evolve?
Again, I think it was just that looking at those hunting games and trying to figure out what's fun there, and then
Cabela's Deer Hunter inspired Evolve.
Well, I wouldn't say that's the only thing, right? But that's certainly that's a big part of it, right? Because that's what our lunches tend to be. It's just. We look at what's out there and we think, hey, what do we like about it? What have we done? What would we do different? Why is this popular in this case? We were like, why is so many people buying this game? And so that's one of it. And then just the kind of the obvious ones. The Predator is certainly a good example.
Yeah.
Aliens, or Alien, because there's only one monster or one alien there.
Right.
I think it surprises me that nobody has tried to do it before now. I always think of that Calvin and Hobbes strip where you see Calvin and he makes like a whole little pack of little tiny snowmen. And you're like, what the hell is he doing? And then the next
just stomps it.
The next one you see him like pretending to be Godzilla and he's like eating the snowmen. Yeah.
That's great. I love you because you mentioned Calvin and Hobbes. That is genius. Kip Grash on Facebook. Oh, no, wait. Yeah, no, wait. Let's see. Is that his question? Oh, yeah. He's wondering about game balance. Balancing has to be very difficult. How do you balance something that has something as powerful as those monsters?
Yeah, you play it. You just play it over and over and over again. You build yourself a good telemetry system so that you can look at all the numbers. That's the thing. Like when we play test every night, we come away with our impressions, right? And a lot of times those impressions are, I'm pissed because I got beat, right? Or that monster is overpowered because I got beat. But then we've got this nice telemetry system hooked up to it, so we can actually compare the numbers to the impressions. And that's the way we've been doing it all this time.
So you're constantly tweaking, making the monster less powerful if he's winning too much,
and then more abilities.
Yeah, just trying to keep it as 50-50 as possible. And you're interesting.
So far, we've done pretty good. Yeah, it's a lot of math. Yeah.
A lot of math. I'm not good at math. That's why I write about video games.
But I don't do the balancing part. That's Chris.
2 more quick ones for you, Phil. Kip Grash. We just did. Patrick Tamrell wonders, communication is key between the hunters. From what he played the alpha. Is it possible to win the game without needing 3 other friends?
Yeah, I think so. If you are communicating, if you can get three guys in a pub that are willing to kind of come out of their shell and talk over the mic, there's no reason why you can't. particularly you get high-level players and they're playing a particular character. They know what that character is supposed to do, right? And as long as everyone is
your job.
Yeah, as long as everyone's telling each other what they're doing, I don't see why not.
And our final question is a Facebook question from Michael Streets, who wonders where did the inspirations for the monster designs come from? We got just two so far. We got Goliath and we got Kraken.
Well, Goliath, he was straight up inspired by all the sort of classic monsters. I mean, if you look at him, he's kind of a cross between Godzilla and King Kong.
Right.
He can do a little bit of what those two monsters can do. They're sort of the first ones you think of, right? And so when we were coming up with that first monster, who essentially was to be the poster boy for Evolve, we went straight to those kind of classic movie monsters and sort of made this neat amalgamation of those guys. And then with the Kraken, it goes a little bit more obscure. I mean, a lot of people compare him to Cthulhu, which if you're an H.P. Lovecraft fan, you can't go wrong. But with that one, with a lot of our stuff, we look at a lot of like nature stuff as well. I mean, we really enjoy kind of David Attenborough, nature programs and stuff like that. And one of the ones that squids and octopus, are certainly just fucked up creatures,
Right.
and I think you don't get much more terrifying than like the squid. I mean, I watched a documentary not too long ago about the Humboldt squid, right? And as the sharks in the ocean are disappearing and being overfished and stuff like that, these squid are coming up from the deep, and they're taking shit over, right? And they show you like footage of these divers getting attacked by these things. They're intelligent and they're vicious, and that's great monster fodder, or whatever you want to call it.
Which of the three monsters in the game are you best with to close it out? Either Goliath, Kraken, or the one we haven't seen yet?
I got to be honest, I'm not very good with the monsters, but if I have to choose, I go Kraken.
You and me both.
Yeah, I like to be back and kind of
that lightning bolt is all I need, and I will take you down.
Yeah, well, that and the mines.
Well, Phil, thanks so much for coming up here and taking time out of the crunch time to answer the community's questions on Evolve. We'll look forward to obviously a full game in February, but first, beta on Xbox One in January. Yes?
Yep, looking forward to it.
Excellent. So we've got maps, we've got the hunters, we've got all kinds of stuff we're revealing all month long here on IGN as part of IGN First. So for more on all things Evolve, you're already in the right place, right here at IGN.